Hi, it's Sandra here from Creating Spain, and today I'm going to do quite a fancy card. So, this is as usual an A5 piece folded in half to make an A6 card, and this is my first piece. So you might think this is a very strange pattern, and yes, it is. It will make a bit more sense when I show you this bit. Now this has been airbrushed with gold ink, two slightly different tones of gold ink in fact. And this here is an offset of this particular design. Now you can do this with any background die that you have, or any background die file you have, I should say. And this is going to be the front panel of my card. Now this is very fine, so I'm going to use a bottle which has got varnish in it, and I'm just checking it's running. It's got a very fine point. So basically I need to go over this with this. So I will fast forward this bit. So there we go. That's what I needed to do. I'm going to turn it over and press it down from the other side, and that really does set it off really well, I think. Now I have to do the same thing again pretty much for this side. Wipe away anything that I got on there. And position this, and any discrepancy, if I want to, I can just trim off the edge. So I'm going to put it against the folded edge. So this is upside down against the folded edge, and try and match it up. There we go. So any discrepancy on that, and I'll just put it to my paper trimmer and trim off any excess. But I think you'll find that is a rather nice looking base for a card. Now the thing that makes this particularly fancy is the way I'm going to finish it off. And this one isn't quite finished yet, but I'm going to be using this flower like so, and it's going to have a centre on it. And the centre is going to be this. Only this isn't dry yet, it needs to be painted, and then that's going to go in the centre of that, and then that will be the card finished. I want to show you how easy it is to make a daisy flower for the front of this card. Now I have here a piece of embroidery stabiliser. It's not unduly heavy, and this is what I like to use for my flowers. The reason being, it acts very much like paper, but it's strong and it doesn't tear as easily when it gets wet. So first thing you want to do is to colour it. And what you need to do is to take a piece of the backing and get it nice and wet. So basically you can put it under the tap, you can screw it up and get it so that it's damp to the feel. You don't want it wringing wet, but you just want it well moistened. Or you can spray it with water if you so wish. But I find it's easier to do it under the tap and just to wring it out. Don't worry about it getting creased. You can iron this stuff if you need to, but you probably won't want to bother. So the next thing to do is to either use what I've got here, which is a glass worktop saver, or a piece of the baking parchment stuff that doesn't allow liquid through, anything which is going to be waterproof and doesn't actually allow liquid to sink into it, and that you can either clean or you don't worry about it getting dirty, one or the other. And then you either want to get some paints, or as I've got here, this is just food colouring, and the reason I use it is because it's very concentrated colour. It's cheap, I get it in big bottles, it's chroma colour that I've got, and I buy it in 118ml bottles, and then I decant it into smaller bottles like this so it's easier to use. And what you do is you just put some colours, drops of colours on your work surface, and you either spray or take a bottle like this with some water and you make it in nice colours. Basically, you mix it up. And you can use more than one colour, you can use different shades of the same colour, whatever you want to do. And you take the moistened cloth, or the moistened embroidery backing, I should say, that you have, and you just wipe your surface with it. And you clean your surface off. And what you get are varying degrees of colour. So for example, this would be the first one that I did, and when it's got enough colour on it and you like the result, you just pick it up and you hang it up to dry. And this was probably the second one that I did, and then this was the third one, and that's just for one little splash of paint or food colouring or whatever. Okay, so that's how I do it. If you want to and you have one, you can obviously airbrush it. If you want to, you can mix it up a little bit on the actual backing by just using a stiff bristled brush. You can sponge colour on, you can use inks, you can use this sort of thing, you can use these, whatever you like to get the colour on, dry it off, and then what you want to do is to put it onto another clean surface and spray it with some hairspray. Give it a good going over with some hairspray. Once you've done that and it's dried, you can then cut your flowers out. Now I will link to a file, an SVG, that has my daisy cut out. And you can cut out lots of different daisies. Now this is one that I've got which is perfectly flat at the moment. This is a normal piece of craft foam. Put it on your craft foam and you want 2 tools. Or possibly you can get away with one. You might just be able to get away with one of these, but they generally come in a set of 5 or 6 for €1 or 2. Now the first thing you want to do is to start from the outside petal and curl them in just like that. Hey presto! It works really, really easy. I'm not pressing hard, and it just gives some shape to the petals. You turn it over, flatten them out a little bit, and then using the other ball end, just press quite hard this time in the centre in a circular motion, and you will get this, which is now 3-dimensional and not flat and uninteresting. Now you do that with all your different petals, and then you can build them up. You can use the same size, you can use different sizes, choice is yours. You could use different colour combinations, or you can use the same colour, whatever. You build them up and you just stack them up to make your flower. Now the inside of it, you can choose different things. You could choose a pretty button, you could choose to put a gem in the centre, anything that you've got to hand. Or if you have to have some of this stuff, and it's really peculiar, this is a foam bead modelling clay, or modelling material. It's not clay. It's got minute, tiny, tiny, tiny little foam beads, and it's sort of stuck together with something like a silicone. And it's designed for little kids to use. So you can put that in half, but you can roll it into a shape, and then you can glue that into the centre of your flower and have that as a centre. And you can paint it when it's dry with acrylic paints. So that's how I would make the flowers. I'm going to do the gold first. This probably isn't as dry as it should be. I'm impatient. You've got some storms at the moment, and I don't really want to have my electrical equipment on, just in case we get a lightning strike somewhere. And I know it's supposed to be protected and all the rest of it, but do I want to risk it? No, I don't. Okay, so that's a rough coat with that one, and then go straight in to the darker one. And it won't be smooth on the outside. It's not supposed to be smooth. It's supposed to show these bumps. That's why I like this particular craft clay stuff for making flower centres. So don't have to do anything very arty about this. Notice that it is slightly down, which is why it's sticking to my fingers. And so you can leave that to dry. In fact, you have to leave that to dry now, because if you try sticking it on when it's wet, it's not going to work too well. If you're using acrylic paints, make sure to clean your brushes out as soon as you finish using them. Don't leave them with acrylic paint in, because if you do, you won't get it out very easily. There we go. And I'm just going to put this to rest on a piece of foam for the time being, and just dip in my water to wipe off my glass tile. There we go. Clean up done. Apart from my fingers, of course. Okay, so here's the finished flower, and I think you'll agree that looks pretty good. I quite like it on the glass tile, actually. You could use it as wall art. When you're sticking this onto the centre, either use a silicone glue, because this is made from silicone mixed with beads, I think, anyway. And you'll find silicone glue sticks it probably better than most things. Or use a hot glue gun, choice is yours. But if you're using a hot glue gun, don't use one of the really hot glues, because that might just melt this down and shrink it a bit, depending on how hot it gets. I'm not sure, it might do, because they do say when you're using hot glue guns on styrofoam and things like that, not to use a really hot one, I think. But anyway, that's the flower all done. And so the card is here, and then the flower will go on like so. I'm just going to zoom out so you can see it better. There we go. So that would be the finished card. I hope you like it. I hope you found it inspirational. Files are included in a link below. Thanks for watching.